So today, Sony announced the A7 IV, which I think a lot of people have been patiently waiting for. And I went ahead and I pre-ordered it. So I'm pretty excited. So what I want to just do is kind of go over some of the reasons why I pre-ordered it, and I think it's a good fit for me. I am like a hybrid shooter, and I'm starting to lean more towards video and starting to lean away from photography. I still love photography, I love landscapes, I'll never stop taking photos, but I just think the future is in video. It's not that hard to go to an amazing location and take a great photo. But I think video and telling a story, keeping people engaged is a lot more difficult, and I always love a challenge. So anyways, let's just go over some of the reasons why I pre-ordered the A7 IV and why I think it's a good fit. So we'll start with the autofocus. Basically, it's pretty much an A1 autofocus system. From what I can tell, I went over the specs on the website. Most of the stuff looks, identical. So it's a huge improvement over the A7 III. Like, I mean huge. To be honest, when I'm shooting wildlife, the A7 III is not really good at autofocus with wildlife. In order for it to catch the eye, I mean, the animal has to really fill up most of the frame on the camera for you to get that eye box to show up. It's much better with humans. So yeah, now we have autofocus eye tracking for humans, for animals, and for birds. And we also have that autofocus tracking, not only in photo, but video. So I am super pumped about that part, like super pumped. I was not anticipating like eye tracking in video. I can't wait to see how that works. Just trying to keep animals in focus sometimes can be difficult, especially because, you have grass coming up in the foreground, you have tree branches sticking out and stuff. So all of that really challenges an autofocus system, and I'm excited to see how this works out. Hopefully it works really well. Another thing that I think is really gonna help me out is this new dial switch where we have photo and video, and then it has S and Q. Being able to shoot wildlife, take photos, and then just quickly switch to video, that's gonna be really awesome. And also with that mode dial, when it's set to photo, the menu system, and that other menu system that comes up on the screen, both of those, are dynamic. So when it's set to photo, it's gonna give you photo settings when you go into the menu, and when it's switched to video, it's gonna give you the video settings. So that's really cool and really helpful. And that actually goes for the new dials as well that are on top of the camera. Those are customizable. I never use the exposure compensation on here, and this one does not lock, so it drives me crazy. But it's cool now that I get to take that wasted space, for me anyways, on this camera, and I get to change that and use it for any other feature that or almost any other feature that I want that's going to be relevant for my workflow. So I'm really excited about that. So we finally got a bigger grip. One thing I've hated about this camera, I'm not even gonna lie, ever since before I bought it, I knew someone that had it, and I went over, he let me try it out for a little bit, and I hated how small the handle was, or the grip was. And I put a battery grip on here, which made a huge improvement, but it's still small this way when I go to put my hand around it. I had my hands on a Canon R6 or R5 the other day, and I was like, oh, I miss that feel. Anyways, we get a bigger grip, which is, I guess, the same thing as the A7 III, and I think the same thing as the A1. It might be a little bit off. 10-bit 422 on the video. That's good as well. I guess now it comes with S-Cinetone. The A7 IV does. This doesn't have that. I think I use Cine 1 when I do my videos, or no, I use Cine 2 on the A7 III. I believe the ISO performance on the A7 IV is better than the A7 III. I was watching Maddie Poyaja's, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, his video, which he had the ISO set to 102,400 on the A7 IV, and it looked clean. Like, it looked good. I mean, it wasn't clean, but for that high of an ISO, it looked really good, and he had it compared up to the A7 III. I'm not gonna lie, the A7 IV kind of looked a little bit better, but I don't know, you just, you don't really know. But anyways, yeah, I guess the ISO performance is better. Again, for me, that's a big deal. I hope it's better. And the reason why is because I shoot most of the time, even photography, right? Landscapes, nature, and even wildlife, most of the time, it's during sunrise and during sunset that I'm out there. So ISO performance actually is a big deal with me. I mean, there are times where I've taken shots and I just can't use them because they're just way too noisy on the camera, or, you know, maybe an animal came out last minute and I just try and take some photos and, you know, they're unusable because I didn't have a chance to adjust my settings or whatever. And so hopefully the ISO performance is really good. And from what I've seen, I'm kind of excited about it. The new menu system, that's fine. The old menu system, it didn't really bother me that much. Have an active mode for image stabilization. It's an electronic stabilization, it crops in. Even in post, when you add stabilization, you'll notice a little bit of crop. That's how these things work. It's fine though, from all the videos that I've watched, it looks really good actually. But it does give a pretty good crop into the video. So have to see how that goes, but at least it's there. The shutter mechanism thing closes when you turn the camera off. I don't know if it closes when it goes to sleep, but when you turn it off, it does. And thank God, because I mean, this thing gets so much dust in it. I mean, I'm constantly cleaning it. It's like ridiculous. So I guess those are all of the new cons, and the biggest thing that got me really is the autofocus system. Yeah, so going from 24 to 33, it's good. I don't think you're gonna notice a big jump up in image quality until you get to like 50 or even the A7 IV 61 megapixels, then you'll definitely notice it. But anyways, it is good. So a lot of times in wildlife, you're either cropping in post or you're shooting in crop mode to get a bit more reach. And so it's nice to have those extra megapixels there, so that'll be good. Some of the things that I'm a little bit upset about, and I gotta be honest here, 10 frames a second, like that's kind of weak. It's weak. I don't know why Sony didn't at least update that to 12 frames per second, or really it should be at 15 frames per second. This shoots 10 frames a second. Look, I don't think a lot of people need 30 frames a second, but keeping it at 10 frames a second is pretty weak. It kind of stinks. The 4K 60 has a crop. I can't find out whether or not we still get eye autofocus at 4K 60 or even 120 frames a second. Sony's website was talking about autofocus during their release, and they said something about slow motion, but they didn't say anything about eye autofocus. And right now, like, I went on their website, I tried to find they have a full specs there, but they don't have like, I anyways couldn't find like the spec sheet that had all the footnotes in it. Because next to all the specs, you'll see like number 11, number 16, 32. Like, that's when you gotta dig into the footnotes and you gotta see, like, you know, where all the caveats are and stuff like that. So I don't know if we're getting eye autofocus in 4K 60 frames a second or even 120 frames a second. I hope so, it would be nice, but I still haven't yet seen anyone say we do or we don't. So I don't know where that stands. It does have really bad rolling shutter. If you go watch Gerald Undun's video, he clearly states it out. It's really bad rolling shutter. It's just as bad as the A7 III. And then like the viewfinder, it is upgraded from this, but it is still kind of low compared to the competition. So yeah, that's it. That's my rant. Biggest reason why I bought it again is the autofocus. It's so much more improved. I mean, having humans, birds, and animals, eye tracking, photo, video is awesome. I'm super pumped about that. So anyways, that's it. If you guys have any questions, comments, definitely leave them down below. Let me know what you think of the camera. If you know whether or not it has eye autofocus system with the 4K 60 or the 120 frames, leave that down below too. I just don't really know. But anyways, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. Would love to have you on board, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.